mix-up, which is called superimposition. In Sanskrit it is adhyasa. Okay? Then the adhyasa takes place because of ignorance, which is avidya. And if avidya is the problem, then what is the solution? Knowledge. Okay? So that connection we saw. So, Meera had an observation, and Ava also had an observation, which was a very similar observation. And I wanted them to verbalize that observation, because the next section is actually addressing, it's saying what you are saying. So why don't you say what you have to say?
Well, I was just, I was just saying that actually there's the ignorance and we have a mix-up. But the thing about it is most of us today are not even aware of that presence. So where is the question of mix-up? And that's how they are living their life and going day to day without knowing that there's a difference between that there's an I out there. They still think that I am this and everything's happening to me. So for me, just to have a mix-up is on the path.
Even to recognize
the fact that you have a mix-up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a path.
Self-aware.
Amma, you wanted to add
the same thing. Like if you don't know where the mix-up is or what you're ignorant about, how do you go pursuing that knowledge?
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is why everybody, as Meera and they are living with this mix-up, not even recognizing the fact that there is a mix-up.
Yeah.
Because once you recognize there is a mix-up, there is a pursuit to remove that mix-up, right? But if you don't recognize that there is a mix-up, where is the pursuit?
Yeah. And you won't recognize as a mix-up actually until you don't come to the knowledge, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because I would like to add one thing.
Yes,
we are aware of our suffering.
Yes.
So we are saying that the cause of the suffering is the mix-up.
Yeah. So that means, as Aparna says, that you don't really know that there is a mix-up, but you are only aware of your suffering. So you want to get rid of this suffering. And you go to n number of places. Actually, we've all tried to get rid of our suffering through so many different means, right? But nothing has really worked. Because what? Because we are doing things at the wrong place. What actually requires to be done is what? Address this mix-up. So therefore, with some blessing, if you can come to Vedanta, which even makes you recognize the fact that all this suffering, the real cause is what? The mix-up. And in order to undo that mix-up, you need to know the nature of I. You will never actually find out.
So in a certain way, the suffering is actually a blessing.
Suffering is a blessing if it leads you to...
Yes. If you're wise enough.
Yeah. Those little knocks and shocks
push you
to search.
Push you to look for a solution.
Exactly.
And not be overpowered by...
Exactly.
But a lot of people just live their life with the suffering, thinking
Yeah.
this is my kismat, my karma, my lot in life, and that's it, without addressing, the deeper issue.
Absolutely.
Or the world should change for me.
Yeah.
Not me for the world.
Also, Buddhism says life is suffering. So
Buddhism says life is suffering.
But Buddhism also says you can remove the suffering by removing ignorance, which is exactly the same thing.
Taking poison into medicine.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, this is exactly what the next point is, and which is a very interesting point, right? So we'll read. I don't want to, do you want to read any, does anybody want to read the notes, or do you think it's not necessary? The reading notes I finished class 3. So why don't you read? Who will read this time? Okay, Marisa can read. And just there is one mistake which I have made in the second para. The second line is you cannot, and not can. You cannot mistake unknown things. So just add not.
Okay.
Second para, class 3, second para, second line. Just add not. Try to see the meaning. Yeah. I mean, these are very short sentences, but with what I explained, you should be able to follow it.
Anathema. You want me to read it?
Yeah.
We can understand that one object can be mistaken by the other, but Atma is not an object. It is not seen like table, etc. In order to be mistaken, it has to be available for perception. Since it is not available for perception, in case of Atma, Anatma, both Artha and Dharma Adhyasa is not possible.
This is objection. So please add an objection. Otherwise you think this is what we are saying. This is a person who is looking at us and saying that it's not possible. Right? Now our answer.
The condition is not that both have to be objects. The real condition is that both have to be known. You cannot mistake an unknown thing for another or attributes of an unknown thing on the other. Even though Atma is not available as an object, it is still known as self-evident or self-revealing presence. The fact that it is known, even though not as an object, it can be mistaken for the other, and attributes of the other can be mistaken for that of Atma. For example, even though space is not available for perception, people impute blueness on space because of the mistake. Wise people say that this adhyasa mistake happens due to avidya, ignorance. That is why, in reality, when we project either a thing or its attribute on the other, in reality it has never taken on even an ounce of that object or attribute. Therefore, in order to correct adhyasa, what one actually needs to do is to remove the ignorance. Any attempt to remove the attributes through action would not work, because these attributes don't belong to the object in the first place. The whole pursuit becomes that of knowledge.
Is it clear? Okay. Now, as Meera and Ava observed, so that means it seems as though everybody would be doing what? Pursuing knowledge of Atma. Because as Uddhav says, there is suffering and nobody can stand that suffering. And if you recognize that this suffering is due to this mistake of what? Taking Atma to be something which it is not, then everybody will do what? Gain the knowledge of Atma, so that that superimposition will be taken care of and which will get rid of one's suffering. Right? But how many percentage of people go into this pursuit of Atma? What percentage?
1%.
Less than 1%.
Less than 1%. Right? So that means 99.9% of the people, they all have suffering, but they are looking for the solution to that suffering where?
In the wrong place.
Somewhere else.
Outside.
Right? It is like our teacher used to give an example. Outside is a wonderful word. Who said that? Satish? Who said? Rajan said. Okay, it's lovely. Our teacher used to tell us a story. The story is the following, right? That there is this old lady who was searching for her key, right? And she was very frantic and she was going all over and she was not able to find the key. And a passerby came and he wanted to help her. So he started looking for the key and then he couldn't find it anywhere. So he asked the lady, hey, you think about it, where did you lose the key? So she said, yeah, I lost it inside the house. Then he was a little bit puzzled. If you lost it inside the house, why are you searching for it outside? And the lady said, because there is light outside. So that means there is a problem which is centered on I. My I, when it is all loaded with all kinds of things, I cannot stand it. And I want to unload it. And where do I look for unloading that suffering? In this world. And I keep on engaging in this world to free myself from suffering. And where is the solution? I. Our teacher has written a beautiful book. It says, if the problem is centered on I, where is the solution? The solution has to be centered on I. Where is the locus of the problem? That's exactly where you find the solution. If you look at some other place, you are never going to be able to find a solution. Okay? But even in order to discern that, you require a lot of grace. Because life is lived, what? Not even knowing that, what exactly is the nature of problem. So the next para is actually talking about that. Here he says, beautiful, it's a beautiful thing. It is such a pleasure when I was even studying Brahma Sutra to give a talk here. I was like, oh my God, what analysis, it's brilliant. Okay? So, this is the next para. It says, Tam etam avidya kyanam Atma anatma itaretar adhyasam puruskritya sarve pramana prameya vyavahara laukika vedikascha pravrittaha sarvani cha shastrani vidhi pratishedha moksha parani. Big statement. Okay? All our transactions in this world that we perform, it is with this adhyasa or without this adhyasa? With this adhyasa. So this adhyasa does not actually interfere in what? Our interacting with the world. Right? That's why it goes on for how long? Forever. Because it doesn't interfere. The mix-up, you can live with that mix-up for not only what? This life, but all the other life. Many lives. And what is interesting is, he says, even Vaidika Vyavahara. Not only Laukika Vyavahara, but even Vaidika Vyavahara can keep this mix-up intact. For example, how can it be? Because Vedanta Shastra is the one which undoes this mix-up. But the first portion of the Veda, which is what we call Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda is, what is it? What does it do? It gives many different rituals and prayers for you to what?
Specific prayers.
To
Recite.
Specific prayers for a specific
Problem.
excellent. Right? So there are what they say, as we human beings, we all want fulfillment, right? And as Meera and Avan says, they haven't even figured out where is the real source of fulfillment. So they are engaging in the world to get the fulfillment that they are looking for. Okay? Now, so what are the means through which they are looking for this fulfillment?
To outside resources, yeah.
Yeah. What are those resources?
family,
excellent, finance, power, family. These are the ways that we look, what means through which we look for our fulfillment.
Prayer.
Prayer could be, right? But the real pursuit is not really a prayer. The pursuit is finance, security, people. Exactly. So therefore, what Vedas say is, everybody is looking for fulfillment, and they are looking through, when we talk about what, this money and power, are we looking for really money or power themselves, or are we looking for what, our own security through
money and power.
money and power, right? So this, what I'm really looking for is security, and I impute that security on what? Money
and power.
power. So therefore I go for it, right? So this pursuit is called Artha. This pursuit of Artha is something that for my fulfillment, I want security. The source of security is money and power and relationships, as Marisa was saying, and then I go for it. Okay. Is that the only pursuit that I have? The pursuit of security? What is the other pursuit?
Karma, pleasure.
Karma, the pleasure. Right? So that means, for my fulfillment, I don't just go for what? Money and power and all. So much of my time is spent on pleasures, right? So how I define pleasures, each one has one's own definition of pleasures. Somebody likes to do what? Dance, and even within dance what? Somebody prefers classical dance, somebody likes modern dance, somebody wants rock or whatever, right? So that means the sources of pleasures, we all define. Somebody doesn't like dance at all, but they like music. Somebody doesn't like music, but they like sports. So that means the pursuit of pleasure is a huge pursuit, because it's for my fulfillment. I'm looking for my fulfillment through Artha and Kama. Okay. This whole, you don't think that the pursuit of happiness is something, or pleasure is a small thing. If you look at the entertainment industry, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry trying to create what? New and new avenues of pleasure. You didn't even know that this is a pleasure, source of pleasure. They present that source of pleasure and they entice you. Right? Spa industry was unheard of 10 years ago. Now, what happens? Spa industry is a big industry. Okay? They take you, there is this Ananda Spa. I mean, somebody told me yesterday, per night, the cost is 36,000 per night. Right? But they are able to entice so many people because they project. Right? How is the projection? Not that you'll have one room to stay, which is a nice, decent room, and then, whatever. There's all getting things to your soul enhancement, and there's whole this advertising thing, which is like, oh wow, I'm going to just, be in some kind of a heaven. The marketing, what? Does this whole hype, and that hype, you are able to just, what? Yeah, let me just go and chill there, right? So that's what, and you don't mind just pouring money there, because why? Are you wanting that person to be profitable? No. What do you want?
Pleasure.
Yeah, pleasure. You're not interested in, you're not doing a charity to that guy and making him rich, right? What are you interested in? You are interested in your pleasure. And he is able to sell that idea of pleasure, which will then lead to your fulfillment. He is able to do it very cleverly. And that's why we all go. And it is nothing wrong. Please don't think that it is wrong. But what I'm saying is, these are pursuits. If we don't have pursuits, they create the pursuits and they want us to go after it. And now, because there are so many spas, then what? They have to find something else in their spa which will do something different from somebody else. They need to differentiate because everybody is for offering massages, everybody is, so they have to come up with something new. So that's why one of the very big hotels, they came to us and said, every spa is offering this. We now want to present Vedanta as our offering, which is making us what? Yeah, distinguish us from everybody else.
Spinning the money wheel.
But why not? We can
Why
help.
not?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
why not?
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. There's nothing wrong. Please, at least they will come and they will hear. A
Yeah.
lot of people come to us because they went to Ananda and they listened to some Vedanta. Then they came back to Bombay and they were looking for somebody who wanted, who was teaching them. So there's nothing wrong. What I'm saying is, I'm not giving good or bad. I'm saying how we human beings, right, in the pursuit of our fulfillment, not knowing that the real solution is in the mix-up, we engage in the world, what? Trying to get that fulfillment through the pursuits of artha and pursuits of kama. Until we figure out, right, this is what we do.
So they didn't get that you teach this, no? Otherwise the people will go and search inside them.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if you present the problem, the person has to understand the problem. Otherwise, it's going to be, not. So therefore, so all the vyavaharas go in artha and kama. Okay? Now, the first portion of the Veda, they don't tell you that you should go for artha, you should go for kama. It is something that we already do, right? You have never opened the book called Veda, but you are already going for securities, different forms of securities and different forms of pleasures, right? Now, what does the first portion of the Veda do, the Karma Kanda? It helps you in this pursuit. It says, you are going for security and pleasure. Is there a guarantee that you will get all the money that you want? Is it a guarantee that you will get all the power that you want? Is it a guarantee that you will be able to go and enjoy all different kinds of pleasures that you are looking for? Will you? Even though you are really working, you are devoting 80% of your time in it, will you be able to get everything that you want? Will you be? No. So they actually understand your pursuit and they help you. They said, if there is some obstacle in your getting what you want, I'll tell you some prayers and I'll give you some rituals which will help you in that. If something is obstructing it, it'll be able to remove those obstacles. So therefore, the Vaidika Vyavahara of Karma Kanda, is it within this mistake or it is correcting that mistake?
It's still within.
Excellent. It is within that mistake. Wonderful. Right? In fact, that mistake is not corrected here. It's just helping you. Right? Somebody can ask, why should it help you in this mistake? Why should Veda help you in this mistake?
Or at least inching towards that direction. Maybe the means is not.
Excellent. Okay. In addition to giving you rituals and prayers to get what you want, the first portion of the Veda also tells you that when you are pursuing all this, follow dharma. Because that you want to earn money, wonderful. Go ahead. That you want to get power, no problem. Okay? But in order to get this money, if you cheat somebody else, then we saw all the consequences. Yesterday, we saw all the consequences. What are the consequences? Guilt, fear, lower self-esteem, suspicion, distrust, this is a load that you will get. Okay, so therefore, get that. There is no, everybody needs some amount of money. Everybody needs some amount of pleasure. There is nothing wrong. It introduces the whole dharma aspect. Do it with certain awareness of that natural law that Aparna was asking about yesterday. Be aware of the presence of natural laws in your pursuit. Because if you go against that, then no matter how many prayers and rituals you do, if the means is all wrong, those prayers, you think they are going to work? No. So that means it tells us two things. One is follow dharma. Even your pleasures, if you have earned after working very hard, there is nothing wrong in going to some vacation place and having a good time. There is nothing wrong. But if you have cheated somebody and then gone on a vacation, even while being on that vacation, beautiful beach, there is that discomfort that Surya was talking about during this morning meditation. That discomfort we carry within ourselves, the stress, nervousness, that will, in the most beautiful place, you will still carry that discomfort. So therefore, what Vedas say is they bring the whole new dimension to our our first two pursuits of Artha and Kama. They bring dimension of Dharma. That is the first condition, that you must bring in Dharma. Find legitimate means of earning powers and pleasures, and in spite of whatever legitimate means, if there are some past obstacles because of past causes that you have created, which are coming against your getting what you want to get, then there are some prayers and rituals which are given to you to offset the effects of the past obstructions. Brilliant. So that means within this pursuit, what is it doing? It is giving you maturity because you are beginning to follow Dharma, and also making you aware of this cause and effect. That means you need to earn money and whatever, but you can't disregard
Dharma.
the law. Make you do that within the infrastructure of Dharma. That's a huge thing. Because then you, instead of asking you not to do it, what is it doing?
Do it correctly.
Do it correctly. Excellent. When you begin to do it correctly, then what happens? You
Sense of
have
satisfaction.
there is a sense of satisfaction. There is a certain good self-esteem that you enjoy. There is certain connection that you actually begin to discover with the universe, where you say, everything that happens in my life follows certain cause and effect relationship. Therefore, you don't overburden yourself with all the when things don't happen your way, you don't burden yourself as a failure, you don't burden yourself as a victim. You just are able to live intelligently and find solutions within those laws. That itself is a huge contribution, which is the first portion of the Veda. Now, but it is still within that avidya. True? Now, Veda is hoping that when you do everything ethically and when you engage in prayers and rituals, right, and you have prosperity and you have surrounded by enough pleasures, and that time you will then discern that all this has helped me a lot, but is it really a solution to my suffering? No. has nourished you in your pursuit and it has helped you to discover what? That ultimately even this is not going to solve the problem. But if you did not have money and I tell you it's not going to solve your problem, you won't understand. It makes you go through that. It makes you say that, hey, now go, earn. But what? Do it within a proper infrastructure. And when you do it and you understand that, hey, in spite of having all this, I have still not solved this problem, where do you go to? Vedanta. Then you look for a solution in the other direction. But it has to help you in that journey. If it just starts uprooting you at the first stage, it will get nowhere. Right? So therefore, even the pleasures, there is nothing wrong with the pleasures, but giving you the infrastructure within which you can pursue your pleasures. Then you can say the pleasures don't actually solve the problem either. So that means if you want to go from primary level of physics to PhD, can you just jump from primary to physics, PhD? You have to go through what?
Process.
The second and the whole process. And the first portion of the Veda, please don't, I hear again and again and again, I'm spiritual, I'm not into rituals. As though rituals are something very bad. Rituals are not bad, they are made to help you. If you don't want to be helped, it's fine, but don't label it as bad, as though it's something which is inferior. It's not inferior, it's helping you, it's an option. Prayer it's a help. If you want to take its help, take its help. If you don't want it, don't take it. But to label prayer as something inferior is your ignorance.
And it is that because a lot of people have forgotten. I mean, a lot of times, like you're explaining it to us, but a lot of people don't know it. I mean, you ask the people who are doing the ritual, why are you doing it? They say, I have no idea, but they say. When you say they say, everything is lost. And that's why you kind of, a lot of people poof it, because when they say, why are you doing it?
Exactly. So that means, if you don't understand, don't dismiss. Try to understand. Try to understand, and then if you don't, then you can say, okay, I don't understand. As of now, I don't understand. That's an accurate statement. I don't know. I am not able to understand. It's an accurate statement. It is useless. It's a huge addition. Same. So many people told me that, oh, when people come to Vedanta, right, people say you've gone mad. What do they know about Vedanta? They have no idea what Vedanta is, but somehow they have concluded what? That is all useless. And they have concluded Vedanta is useless, and then what do they infer because of that? That you are going to something which is useless, so you are mad.
You have a problem.
You have a problem.
Actually,
They are the ones that have the problem.
So that means we don't, see, our whole buddhi has to be cultivated. We make so many statements and we are so sure about what we are saying without really looking into it. If you want to be connected to the truth, you have to what? Be that discerning person. Discerning person who's asking right questions and then what? Looking for solutions in a proper manner. Ask for help. Universe will provide you help. But if you conclude and you think that you are right, where will the help come from? Okay. So the first portion of the Veda, even though it works within avidya, it is helpful. Because it paves the way for me to one day ask this question. It's a process. It takes me in that direction. that one day I myself will discover that all these pursuits of artha and kama will not solve my problem. But I cannot, as a result, what? Just prematurely give it up. Because if I try to prematurely give it up, it will be counterproductive. And the implication of that, it's amazing how well our teacher understood. Very well. Just to narrate my own example, just to make you see that, these are not just philosophical things, how important they are to understand. Right? So when I was in my mid-20s, I had just started working with the UN, and I wanted to leave that job, and I wanted to attend 3-year course of Vedanta, which was the first course in Coimbatore in 1990. And my teacher, I thought I was this star, I was educated in Ivy League school, and I was working with the UN, and so my teacher would be so thrilled to have me in this course, right? And my teacher told me, no, don't come. And I was like, what? You mean you are saying yes to all these people and you are saying no to me? I don't really understand. So I asked him, but Swamiji, why not? So he told me, you've just started working, you need nurturing, you need nourishment through your work. You need to excel in your work, it's very important. You need to do well in life. When you are able to do well, then you can, You can outgrow that and you can give it up. But if you haven't experienced it, there will always be this, exactly. In order for Vedanta to work on you, our teacher used to say, you need to have a relatively good self-esteem. If you want to understand limitlessness, you can't be feeling so bad about yourself. You can't be completely feeling I'm a failure, I'm no good. Because the gap between how you feel and what you have to understand is it's huge. You need to first come to this point where you feel relatively good about yourself, relatively good at self-esteem, then you can go one step further. Artha kama may not solve your problem does not mean, when we say that, students, if anybody who does not have a sophisticated mind, what will they conclude?
Artha kama is bad.
Exactly. Artha kama is bad, it is material, it is useless. These are all the things people load. Vedanta teachers are very, very, if they know what Vedanta is talking about, are very nuanced. The fact that it does not solve your problem doesn't mean it's useless. That is your own addition. That you say, if it doesn't solve my problem, then it must be useless. This is how our buddhi works.
So in that case also I am great.
Exactly.
My problems can't be solved.
Yeah.
When you're doubting the law.
Exactly. So therefore, Karma Kanda, even though it is not the ultimate solution, it has a very important role to play. To make you that person who will even begin to ask this question. Others have to go through that process of their artha pursuits, kama pursuits, bringing in dharma, bringing in prayers, which will put them in that path, the right track, which then will result into one day them asking this question. So therefore, even the Karma Kanda portion is within avidya, because it keeps that mix-up intact. But it prepares you to one day realize that there is a mix-up so that you can undo it. Brilliant. They are not in a hurry. Vedas are not in a hurry. This lifetime, you didn't figure it out, doesn't matter. Next lifetime. How many lifetimes?
As long as it takes.
As long as it takes. As long as it takes. You relax. You go. You do. So therefore, here he says, what is beautiful, that even the entire Vidhi and Pratishedha, Shastra, Vaidika is within this Adhyasa. Okay? Then, here he says, he asks this question, Katham punaha avidyavat vishayani pratyakshadini pramanani shastrani cha iti uchyate. Okay? Deha indriyeshu aham mama abhimana rahitasya pramatutva anupapattau pramana pravrutti anupapattehe. So he is asking this question. He is saying, why are you saying that all the transactions in this world, right, and also Vaidika Vyavhara is within this avidya? Why? Because when you engage in the world and when you engage in Vaidika Vyavhara, where is your eye? Because you think, I am as good as the body, I am as good as the mind, I am as good as my senses, and I then have to get all this, right, for my nourishment. So that's why it is what? Within avidya. Right? So this is how it is answered. Nacha adhishthanam antarena indriyanam vyavaharaha sambhavati. Nacha adhyastha atma bhavena dehene cha vidya priyate. Nacha etasmin sarvasmin sati asangasya atmanaha pramatutvam upapadhyate. Okay? So therefore, this, if you knew that Atma is free from all of that, will you then be engaging like before for your fulfillment? Right? So therefore, this whole pursuit is within this avidya. Okay? But once you know the Atma, this is another thing, right? You know that I am that being which is free from limitation of body, mind and sense complex. Does it mean that you will not do anything anymore? No. Because this is where this whole vision comes, that once you become a wise person, you will leave the world. Because now you have seen that this is all not me. This is a very common kind of a thing, that all this is what I engage with the world in whatever pursuits that I engage till the time that I know the truth of myself. The minute I know the truth of myself, I have to what? Leave everything. Is it true?
No.
No. Then what is, then people will ask, and what is the difference between you and somebody else? You are also doing, they are also doing.
You're doing it differently.
I'm more self-aware.
Yeah.
Exactly. You are doing it differently because you understand yourself and you are much more self-aware. That is the difference. Externally, it looks what?
Same.
It may look the same,
But
but so what changes?
Your attitude.
The buddhi. Yeah.
Exactly. What changes is only what you understand. That's what changes. If you're looking for physical change, then what?
No halo.
No halos all around, right? So don't, yeah. So is just that confusion is here and you have to undo the confusion. That confusion with a mix-up, it is a bondage, and when you undo it, it is freedom. Right? And then externally, you can be doing exactly as what everybody is doing. It is not keeping, right? So therefore, this is what he says, that this, even when you get to know the truth about yourself, that connection with body, mind, senses, is it going to remain or it is going to go away?
Remain.
It is going to remain. What is it that you have solved?
The conflict, the confusion.
Exactly. If you think that the minute you understand Atma will be then detached from the body, mind, sense complex, right? That is never going to happen. That connection will remain, but what is what? That mix-up will go. And you will continue to transact with the world, right? As before, but with the knowledge. So here he says that even Laukika Vyavahara is within this avidya, right? So now, up to now, we talked about Vaidika Vyavahara, how it is within the first portion of the Veda, it is within avidya. Our Laukika Vyavahara, which is your normal empirical transactions, are also within that avidya, right? Because that mix-up is there. What all can you do with that avidya intact? What all can you do? Everything. Exactly. You can do everything. Brilliant, Sarita. All. The science, the medicine, everything can be done with what? Yeah, exactly. With this avidya intact. So don't think that avidya means people are all mad. Avidya means the world of avidya has all the painters, have all the artists, have all the scientists, have all the brilliant doctors, brilliant businessmen. They have all kinds of people. They live even with that mix-up, how much you can accomplish. It is mind-blowing how much you can accomplish.
And within Dharma.
And within Dharma, how much you can accomplish. So therefore, this within this is, he says, all your pramana pravritti. Pramana pravritti means what? Everything that you know from the time that you are born, right? What are the different means that you have used to know things in this world? You went to school. Now, as you opened your eyes when you came onto this world, right? You opened your eyes. You began to what? At what age you start seeing forms? Immediately?
Immediately.
Immediately. Okay. So immediately you are using what? Your eyes to see the forms. Is avidya there or not? Is there. Mix-up is there. Right? So therefore, that you start seeing forms, you start hearing sounds, everything happens. This is what we call pratyaksha pramana. Pratyaksha pramana is what? Perception. Your perception starts working from, it has got nothing to do with whether you correct the mix-up or not, it starts working. You start seeing forms, your ears start hearing sounds, your tongue starts tasting food, your sense of touch, a baby needs sense of touch, feels secure when the mother is or the father is holding the baby. Okay? All your perceptions are all what? Started the minute you are born. As you begin to be what? I think as soon as Surya was saying, some amount of inference is also you have, because Surya was talking about this experiment where a 3-year-old baby is shown 2 puppets. One puppet is being very nice and the other puppet is nasty. And the baby has a tendency to look at which puppet?
Nicer.
So some basic sense of inference is even working at that level. So that means the perception and inference that you're born with, you start using it to know the world. As you begin to go to school, the same perception and inference you refine to do what? Learn. You go to school, you study biology. Biology means you didn't know how these plants and how these human bodies, and you get to know. In the first standard you are given little information, second standard little bit more, so they keep building on that knowledge and you begin to know things. Okay. So therefore, the perception you begin to refine, the inferences you begin to refine. As a child, you only could figure out which puppet to look at. But by the time you reach university, with your inference capacity, what are you learning? How old is the universe? How do the planets work? How is this human anatomy? How all these things, black holes, quantum physics, using what? Perception and inference. Perception is what? What is perception? In Sanskrit, it is called Indriya Pratyaksha. Indriya Pratyaksha means you have 5 sense organs. What are the 5 sense organs?
Sight,
Smell, taste,
touch.
And touch. With these 5 sense organs, you take in data. You take in that data and you make sense of that data and you respond. Right? So this is what we call Pratyaksha Pramana. The second method through which you learn in this world is Anumana. Anumana is inference. Inference can be one-step inference or it can be multiple step inference. Right? A simple inference is when you are driving the car and you see the car in front of you, it has red light. It's on a highway and you see, what is your sight? Red light. What do you infer?
stop.
You infer that the person is stopping or slowing down, and what do you do then?
Slow down.
Exactly. The perception is that of red light. What is the inference?
Slow down.
Slow down. And then you take an action based on that and you also slow down. Right? So this is what we call inference. This is one-step inference. Now when the scientists talk about how old is the universe, is it one-step inference? No. It is multi-step inference. Nobody was present, right, at the time of the beginning of the universe to see it coming, so it cannot be pratyaksha. It's not perception. But they do observe some things and they use a very sophisticated inference to then estimate the age of the universe. So that is what Anumana. Anumana is inference. One-step inference and multi-step inference. All this, when you are going to school and you are learning all this and you are becoming so clever, right? Is this mix-up there or not there?
No, it's there.
It's there. So you can become very brilliant, you can become a scientist, you can think about so many things. So avidya does not mean that people are all some, avidya means they are all clueless. They can accomplish amazing things within this avidya. Every day new discoveries, new diseases and new discoveries. So many things that, Surya told me what in some medieval times, what was the age, average age of a human being?
Yeah, 35, 40 maximum.
They lived only 35, I was actually quite surprised, 35, 40, and how many years ago?
600 years ago.
600 years ago, the human life was only 35, 40 years, right? And it's amazing now, it's like when my parent passed away and I said 82, then somebody said, oh, it's quite young. So, how the whole perception of age, what is that age? And how long we live. And it's in 600 years, and it's all what? All the scientists working for cures and improving the human life and all that. It all happens within what? Perception and inference. All these amazing treatments and all, it's incredible, the technology advancement. Okay? When I was living in the US in early 90s, they used to have talks on information highway. And I used to be like, what is this so-called information highway? And they were actually talking about all these, how this internet exactly is going to make it possible for us to, somebody types on WhatsApp over there, and when do I receive it?
Instantly.
Instantaneously. And at that time, I could not even conceive what is it that they are talking about. And now, it is something that we all do all the time. So that means, oh, what brilliance! We can't underestimate the human mind. Don't just put them all in one category of avidya and oh, I'm Vedantin and they are all people who are ignorant people. If they are ignorant people, it's a technical term, right? I mean, in this ignorant people, they have a mix-up, it's true. But with that mix-up, they can do amazing things. Amazing things. Right? So therefore, this kind of that the whole mind has to be cultivated for Vedanta. Okay? So therefore, they talk, Adi Shankaracharya says, hey, you can do amazing things with this. All your pramanas operate within avidya. And with that, you can do so much. But can any of those pramanas remove that avidya? They will keep it going. The perception and inference that you use to engage in the world, they can enable you to what? Accomplish amazing things in this universe. New discoveries, new discoveries. You can't even imagine what 100 years from now, what it is going to look like. You won't even know. Even with best of your science fiction, you go and see a movie, and they kind of imagine what the life would be like 100 years from now. And you sit here and you will not, even your mind will not be able to reach there. And they'll be able to do many things. Now they are talking about what cars which you don't need, which you don't have driver. I mean, so much research is going on and it's just mind-boggling. Fuel, I mean, amazing research is going on everywhere. So therefore, everything can be accomplished within this avidya, and it will happen. Okay. It will go on doing it, but will it then, with this pramana that we have, perception and inference, will it undo the mix-up? Are they capable of undoing the mix-up? No. Okay. Why can they not undo this mix-up?
I want to ask you, I was a little confused.
Yes.
If they are so like, they have this perception and the inference and all that, you just add a little more knowledge to it and then they would be even, then it's brilliant. So you can do it, but just add in that little thing.
Exactly. So that means, unless somebody points it out, if they are ready, a scientist could be a very ready person, right? A small person would then say, that sometimes when we teach Vedanta, when a scientist comes, they get a kick because they know how much they don't know. And when you show them the logic, they are able to follow all the logics very quickly. And then where they are stuck, and then how brilliant Vedanta is, they can immediately capture it.
Dustin, remember?
Dustin, we had a student who is 1.5. Okay, I will stop. Okay, so we had a student who was he had an IQ of, I don't know, some kind of an Einstein kind of an IQ, and I'll tell his story a little bit later. But he came to us and he was so thrilled by Vedanta. He says, my God, this can create a new revolution in the whole scientific world.
But I think that the key was that he said that he'd done all his studies and it came to the one scientist said that only Vedanta can give you the answers. So that's why he came. He got a grant to come. Yeah.
So therefore, this perception and inference can accomplish many things. But only perception and inference, right? If you don't give this knowledge, which is an external knowledge, right, it will not undo. So unless they expose themselves to this knowledge, then they can get it. But just the way they engage in the universe, they can't get it. And why, I will tell in the next class.
Wait a minute, let me finish the thing.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnam